Welcome to the Spa Girls podcast, the self-publishing podcast for authors. You're in the right place for the best writing, marketing, and publishing advice, plus interviews with industry experts and best-selling authors. I'm Cheryl Phipps.
I'm Shah Barrett.
I'm Wendy Vella.
And I'm Trudy J. Hello. And this week we have a very special guest. We've got Clayton Noblit from Written Word Media. Hello.
Hey, Clayton.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
That is no worries at all. Thank you for joining us. We're super excited to talk. So this week we're going to talk about Facebook advertising and promo stacking. So how to nail both of those areas. And Clayton knows all about it because he does all that kind of thing for Written Word Media. So it's going to be very exciting. But first, I'm going to read the bio. I was going to say Cher was going to, and she was looking at me in panic, but it's okay. I'm going to read the bio, and then we're going to get right into it. Clayton Noblit is a senior marketing manager at Written Word Media, a popular book promotion service for authors. He's passionate about helping authors find their readers and finding ways to sell more books. When he's not helping authors, he enjoys spending time with his family, playing sports, and making beverages. What kind of beverages are we talking?
Ooh, I do like to make cocktails.
Nice.
So I dabble in the alcoholic
Nice.
beverages, but I also like espresso. So I like to make
Nice.
and as
So you
well.
like
Beverages as a
coffee.
whole, I'm interested in, I would say.
Okay.
What about coffee cocktails, coffee-based cocktails? Are we?
Yeah, I can make an espresso martini. I find that to be a little bit much for me on a typical evening. But yeah, but no, my wife does this, so yeah.
Okay.
Don't have that one before you go to bed, right? Do not.
Do not have that. If you're planning to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, have that. But so do you casually just get home from work and like James Bond, casually make yourself a martini, or are
Very
you?
cool.
Yeah, it's exactly like James Bond, actually.
Yeah.
Like the
Nice.
whole thing.
Yeah.
People can't
Nice.
see me on the podcast, but I a striking resemblance to Pierce Bronson.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
I was
yeah.
thinking Daniel Craig, actually.
I was going to say
Craig.
Daniel Craig.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Okay.
Good
Wow,
joke,
okay, I'll
but we
take it.
would have totally bought that, Clayton. So,
Yeah.
don't undermine yourself, mate.
Your secret's safe with us.
Yeah, we won't tell anyone. No one else knows from us, aside from us. All right, so let's get actually into the topic of the podcast. So last time we spoke to you was actually in November 2021. So if anyone wants to go back and listen to that, that was a really useful episode with talking about reader reach, which was at the time a fairly new program for you guys. I don't even know if it's still called reader reach. Is it still called?
Yep,
Yes.
it is.
Yeah. Okay.
It
so
is reach ads, yes.
Yeah, and so now you guys have 2 more years worth of experience in that area. But this time, if you could just go back and listen to that episode if you haven't, it's a great episode. But so what have you been doing since then? What has Written Word Media been up to, and what's been happening basically? Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Well, so much actually. So 2 or 3 years ago, we launched Reader Reach Ads, which is our ad service where we run Facebook or Amazon ad campaigns for authors. Since then, we've had, I'd say, kind of 3 big things happen. So 1, we launched a membership program that allows authors that promote with us a lot to save money on their promos and get a bunch of other benefits as well. But the primary driver is a discount on promos. We also launched ready-made promo stacks, which is where instead of going to all these different promo sites to schedule your promo stack where you run multiple email promos in a short period of time, we partnered with other promo sites and then, of course, you negotiate dates. We've taken this process and shrunk it down. It takes about 5 minutes to schedule an entire promo stack now. It takes about the time of scheduling a single promo. And so we launched that last June, and we've just been expanding that ever since. We've been getting really great feedback from authors on it. So membership, promo stacks, and then we launched another new product last fall called Subscriber Surge Giveaways. And this is a way for authors to build their email list. And basically, you enter your book into the giveaway. We drive a lot of reader traffic to the giveaway page, and these readers can enter your email list for a chance to win your book, and then a higher ticket item like a Kindle. And then at the end of the giveaway, we buy a Kindle, we buy a copy of every book in the giveaway, we send that to the winning reader, And then all the authors get an Excel file of all the readers' email addresses that signed up for their email list.
Wow.
So other
Very
products
cool.
are focused on selling books and driving people to your book pages, and this product is focused on growing your email list. So that's been an exciting thing as well that happened recently.
Yeah.
So yes, we've been up to a lot, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
I
a
was
couple
gonna
of things.
say,
Just a couple
just
of
a few
things.
things.
So we'll talk a little bit more about the promo stacking later on in the interview, but because actually part of that did get disappeared, it froze. My
did it?
end.
Yeah.
So just so you know. But first of all, let's dive in a little bit. Actually, I want to so the membership program, is that, so how much is that, and just
How does
quickly
that
go
work?
into a little bit more in depth on that one before we move on to Facebook
Yeah,
ads.
absolutely. So the membership program, like a lot of the things that we do, is born from author suggestions and author requests. So to start off with, if you're an author out there and you have an idea for something we could do to help you market your books or improve your life as an author, tell us, because we probably will do it. So please bring us your ideas. Basically, membership was born from authors that promote with us every month, every other month. They're spending a lot of money on our promos. And they say, hey, your promos are great. They're working well for me, but can I get a discount because I'm one of your best customers? And we thought to ourselves, yes, that makes sense. We should reward people that come back again and again. And so we came up with membership as a way to do that. And so we have two tiers. We have the gold tier, which is $125 a year. And at the gold tier, you save 10% on each promo that you book with us. And the discount is capped at $200 per year. So if you're a gold member, you could make back your membership fee and then save $75 on top of that as well. The platinum membership is very similar to the gold, but it's $250 a year, and the discount is capped at $500. So for platinum members, if you're promoting with us enough, you could save $250 a year on your promos. So there's the discount. Then there are a lot of other benefits that come with our gold and platinum memberships as well. One is you get advanced access to promo dates. So if you're in a competitive genre, like a lot of the romance genres, sometimes it can be hard to get the promo dates you want because so many other people are picking them up. But if you're a gold or platinum member, you can schedule 2 weeks ahead of anyone else. And so you have less competition and you're more likely to get the dates that you want. You also get access to exclusive discounts that we've worked out with other industry partners. And so this is a really great thing because it helps you save money on other services, and you wouldn't get these discounts if you weren't a gold or platinum member. And we have other benefits as well, like our speaker series recordings. You are more likely to get free promos as well. Sometimes we need to fill out a newsletter with an extra book, and the first place we go is looking at our platinum members and see if they have any books that we can just throw in a newsletter completely for free. You also are the first in line for beta testing. So, we're launching new products all the time. And so our gold and platinum members, those are the people we go to and say, hey, would you like a free promo? You just have to tell us how it worked and how it did for you. And so we can develop the product and launch it for everyone. So a lot of benefits come with membership. Does that kind of make sense? And any questions?
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's kind of what I was asking. That's brilliant. That's perfect. Awesome. Alrighty, so let's
Sounds amazing, actually.
Yeah, it does. And you said something actually quickly before we started recording, and you were like, oh yeah, no, we can just help with anything. We're not, I can just give you any information you like. we're just looking to help authors. And which I thought was really lovely. And it's a really the vibe that I've always gotten from Written Word Media, like that, you're there to just help authors, and you happen to be providing some really awesome services, but there's a really nice sense of sincerity, in helping people. So that's really
thank you.
lovely.
I mean, I think that's one of the things I love about working at Written Word Media. I've been with the company for over 5 years now, which is hard to believe. But when I was interviewing, the CEO, Ricky Woolman, she told me, hey, the number one core value of this company is support the author. And so everything we do has to align with that. And as I was interviewing, I was like, this is great. This is the sort of company I want to work for that really cares about its customer base, that is really out there to help people. And it's a wonderful thing when everybody can benefit and everybody feels good and the company can run. So I'm glad that comes across, because that's definitely what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
We had met Ricky previously on a podcast right at the beginning, I think.
Right at the beginning.
And yes, we thought she was really lovely too.
She talked about how it started from helping to promote her mum's book. Her mother had written a book, and it was like, now what?
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
That's
Exactly.
very cool. So did you come from just a general marketing background, or did you like have you got
Yeah. Yeah. So I was actually working for a fintech startup in Durham, North Carolina, where Written Word Media is based. And it was in a kind of a startup hub building. So there are 250 companies in one building. And the company that I was working for got acquired. And so I was looking for another position. And Written Word Media was looking to make their first marketing hire. And they were on the opposite end of the same floor that I had been working on for
Oh, wow.
Meant to
already.
be.
Yeah,
Serendipity.
so I just kind of hopped over there, and yeah, the rest is history.
Oh,
So
that's so
yeah,
cool.
it's really good luck actually.
Okay.
Yeah, really enjoyed working with authors.
Yeah.
No, that's
Awesome.
cool.
They're cool, those hubs, just as a side note. They're very cool.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into some Facebook advertising.
Yeah.
Okay, just quickly before I do this, sorry, I'm just my brain is firing just because so are there in general, what kind of marketing advice would you give to kind of like a newbie author just starting out? Like, what are the main things they should be thinking about from a marketing perspective? Should they be going straight into Facebook ads, for example, to tie it in?
Yeah. I would say before you do any marketing and any exposure of your book, it's really important to get your fundamentals set first. And when I say fundamentals, I'm talking about the packaging of your book. So making sure that you have a cover that's high quality and appealing to readers. It's really hard to outmarket a bad cover. So having a good cover is going to make all the rest of your marketing work better. So number one, make sure you've got a great cover. Number two, make sure your description is well written and really hooks the reader and makes them want to click that buy button. Once again, if you've got a great cover, but your description kind of appears to give away the story of your book, or is confusing or too long or hard to read for whatever reason, then people who see that cover, they go to the page, they're considering whether or not to buy the book. If the description doesn't convince them the rest of the way, then they're not going to click buy. So making sure your cover and your description are in good shape is really important. And then, of course, at the end of your book, you need to make sure you have stuff in your back matter that readers can do for you. This is something that authors I find kind of underrate a lot of the time. If someone finishes your book and they really liked it, they are going to want to support you. It's going to make them feel good to support you. So make it as easy as possible for them to do that. So having links in your back matter, if you have other books, include links to buy those other books. If you have an email list for the readers to sign up for, have a link for them to do that. If you don't have any of that, maybe you have a social platform that the reader can follow you on. Or you can even just ask the reader to leave a rating or review of the book. Whatever is the thing the reader can do the most to help you, list that at the top and then list everything else underneath it. And the people that are your fans that really love your book, they might do every single thing you ask them to do because it makes them feel good. So make sure you have your cover, your description, and your back matter ready to go. And then after you've got that set, that's when we can start running ads and doing other things to drive traffic to the book page.
Yeah. Well,
I just want to encapsulate because it's a great quote and I actually wrote it down and I'm going to make a cool graphic with your assigned it to you, even though I love the quote, which is it's really hard to outmarket a bad cover. I think that's so true.
Yep.
Yeah.
We see that all the time. It's a real challenge.
Yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking because you know how much time and effort and just energy and soul people put into writing books, and just to miss the mark on that covering is just, it's kind of heartbreaking for me sometimes, honestly, when I see that.
It actually makes you wince sometimes, doesn't it? Like if you join a promotion with other authors and you happen to click on that promotion just to see, how it's all looking, and you see other covers that are just so bad, and you're like, how is this possible? Why did you think that was a good idea?
It is. It's However, we can lead horses to water, and we're trying to do that. So that's what we're trying to do here.
It also can be hard for authors because sometimes I talk to authors and they will have made the cover themselves or made it with a friend, and they get really attached to the cover they create. And that's totally valid, right? Like I completely understand that feeling. Unfortunately, if the cover isn't getting people to click and buy your book,
Yeah.
Switching it out is probably the move, and you have to be a little bit heartless at that point. But I
Yeah.
do understand why it is challenging for people.
I
Absolutely.
totally get it, especially if it's a family member that maybe has even painted or hand illustrated or something like that. My answer to that would be, or my solution to that, or my suggestion, I should say, would be to have that like printed, blown up, you know, and framed. So you have that on the wall in the office, and then you put a different cover on for you know, for the sales platforms, and that way you can honor both. Just saying.
I think this
That's
game, the
great.
really important thing in this game is to be able to take advice.
Yes.
Take
You
advice,
really
put your
criticism
business
even,
hat on.
but you know, from people that know,
Yeah.
and that's, I think that's something that you have to learn very early on
Yeah.
when you're starting out.
Yep.
It's very true. Marketing is about failing. You know, I'm a marketer. I've been doing this for a long time now, and most of the things I tried don't work, and you've got to be okay with it, right?
Exactly.
You got to roll with it, eh?
Because you won't be able to find the ones that do if you don't try everything.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
And
It's a real
sometimes it doesn't
succeed.
take a big reversal or a giant move. Sometimes it can be just a slight realignment. Like when you're sailing, it's just a slight wind shift, and then you're onto the right thing. But yeah, you've still got to write the book from the heart, but you still got to put your business hat on, I think, which is
Not ever
anyway,
always easy.
back to Clayton.
Yeah.
Now that
Now we've all got ways.
Now that we've all had our 2 cents.
Got that out of our system.
So
But it's
let's start
personal or
with
anything.
let's assume that everything is in order. You've got the most amazing cover, and your blurb is on point, and everything else is all as it should be. Someone decides to start with the Facebook advertising. Where do they start? What happens then? Like, how do they do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing you need to do is create a Facebook ads account. And so you can just Google how to set up Facebook ads, and there'll be a lot of guides to walk you through it. There are also a lot of free resources out there for authors that will teach you how to set up ad campaigns. I think David Gogren has some really good resources on his website. And there are also a lot. We have some blog posts on our website showing you how to set up ad campaigns. So I would recommend that you Google how to set up a Facebook ad campaign for authors, how to set one up for books. You'll get a lot of good information. But essentially what you need to do is you need to have a Facebook account. You need to set up your ads manager account. And then from there, you can set up your campaign, your ad set, and your ads. And so what I recommend people do when they're first starting out with ads is start with a really small budget. Because typically your ads at the start might not go too well. And if you start out with a big budget, you might lose some money, yes, but it can be kind of emotionally challenging to overcome a big initial failure, right? So start out small. That's helpful for me at least, right? And so you can start out with a budget as small as $3 to $5 a day, and just really slowly see how things are going with your ads. And the great thing about Facebook ads right now in particular is that the AI that they're using to run these ads has gotten really good. And this year in particular, since the start of 2024, we run a lot of ads, both for authors and to acquire readers and to tell authors about our services. We're running so many ads all the time, and our ads are working really well, and costs are down. And so we attribute this mostly to the algorithms Facebook is using to optimize everything. And so there's lots of options that you can use in your ads that say Advantage Plus targeting, where they will automatically expand the audience that you enter. And this, anytime you see Advantage Plus, I would recommend testing it out and saying, yes, expand this, see what Facebook thinks will work well for this ad. You can do the same thing with placements where the ad is shown on Facebook and Instagram. I recommend letting Facebook choose that for you, especially for someone starting out. Facebook used to be pretty bad at this on its own. They would always push you to it, and then it wouldn't work very well, and it was very frustrating. And that is 100% changed, in my opinion. So if you're a beginner starting with Facebook ads, now I think is as good a time as any to start out.
I agree. And can I just say, when you're researching things, just make sure that you're looking at blog articles from the last year to 2 years max, because things have changed. Back in the day, and I'm talking, because like everything in self-publishing, it's like dog years, right? So 1 year in self-publishing is seven years. So I would say 3 years ago, the recommendation was to have them in the newsfeed only. And so you'd uncheck all the others. And that was sort of like the standard kind of, don't muck around with anything else. that's changed now. So just when you're researching, look for the most recent things. And the same with any books that you're reading on this as well, or YouTube videos.
That's a great point, because things do change very quickly on these platforms. So making sure that you have up-to-date information is really important. If we want to go back to you want to walk through campaign structure maybe, and kind of the different elements there. So the Facebook campaign, Facebook and Instagram ad campaign, you can run them all from one place, right? And so the top level is called the campaign. And so the campaign, you can set the budget here if you want, or you can set it one level down at the ad set. And so for the campaign, you want to choose your campaign objective. And so if you're selling a book on Amazon, like most authors, you're going to want to choose a traffic campaign, right? And so for this campaign, you're just trying to get people to click the link in your ad to go to your Amazon book page. If you're selling books from your website, that's when you can run a conversion-based campaign, because then Facebook will know when someone actually converts and buys the book from your website. But unfortunately, Amazon won't tell Facebook when one of your ads converts. And so you kind of have to fly blind about that final step. So for most authors, you're going to want to be running a traffic campaign. After you set up the campaign, there'll be the ad set level. And so the ad set level is where you target your audiences. And so this is one of the most fun parts, I think, when you're first starting out, because it's a pretty quick process and it's fun to think about the types of people you're targeting with your ads. And so you can do what's called interest targeting, and there'll be a little box in your ad set, and you can type in interests that you want to target. So for example, you could combine an interest like ebooks, right? If you're trying to drive people to your ebook, you can make sure that your readers are interested in ebooks, and then include maybe a genre or a popular author, right? So if you're a thriller author, you could say ebooks and Stephen King and target those people and see if they like your thriller novel, right? There's also kind of broad genre choices you can do as well. So you could say romance books or fantasy, I think, is a very general targeting option. And you can layer them on top of each other as well. So yeah, you can do a lot of different things. And I recommend testing out maybe 3 different ad sets, 3 different audiences at a time, to see kind of which one responds the best to your ads. And then inside each ad set, you will have your ads. I recommend running 3 ads at a time in each ad set. And the great thing about this is you can just make 3 ads and then copy them to each ad set. And so you don't have to make 9 different ads, you just have to make 3 total. And because the ad sets have different targeting, different people will be getting those ads. So you don't have to worry about them duplicating. So that's a nice hack to keep you from having to make too many ads. With the ads, you can use a tool like Canva to make the ad image. I recommend including your book cover and kind of highlighting the cover in a way that makes it really stand out. And with the image, the number one thing I like to think about is stopping the scroll, right? Someone's on their phone, they're scrolling through. Your image has to be the thing that makes them stop and say, hey, what is that, right? And after they stop, then the copy, the written text is what hooks them and gets them to click on the image and hopefully buy the book. So your image, number one goal is to stop the scroll, make it something unique, something that stands out in the news feed or wherever the reader is, gets them to stop. And then the copy can be something that convinces them to actually click to buy the book. And so in the copy, I recommend including things like number of stars your book has on Amazon, right? You could put just 5 stars there in the copy as emojis, and then include maybe a positive review in quotes. You could also include maybe the first line of your blurb to hook the reader. Anything that kind of calls out the value of your book. And if your book is discounted for a limited time, or even if it's not discounted for a limited time, if it's just cheap, you could say, hey, get it now, 99 cents, available now, things like that allow you to use the urgency to convince readers that, hey, I better get this now because this deal might not always be available.
Does Facebook have issues with any of that, like any of that sort of speak, like now? I remember when I was doing ads years ago, if I was too aggressive with that kind of thing, I would get some pushback, and they'd tell me to change that. Is that changed as well?
Yeah, that's changed a decent amount, actually. They're pretty open to kind of the urgency, buy now, things like that. Where you can get into trouble typically is with books that have political themes, or the steamier romances can be challenging to advertise on Facebook. And so with those, if there are two humans touching in any way on a cover, it can be an innocent handhold. That sometimes is too much for Facebook or Meta to handle. And so with that, I've seen, steamy romance authors, they'll blur out parts of the cover. And so Facebook says, okay, that's acceptable. But then for the reader, that's kind of interesting because you might want to click, hey, what exactly is needing to be blurred out?
What's going on?
Why has that book cover got a giant, ribbon across it or something?
Yeah, exactly. So you can use things like that to kind of hook the reader's interest, right? It's not always a bad thing if your cover isn't allowed to be advertised on Facebook. There are ways around it.
Yeah, which goes back to what we're talking about, the covers. And if your book is in a genre that the standard is those covers, always cover it to the reader expectations, not to advertising protocol. And then for the advertising, you can adjust, and like you said, I thought that's a lovely idea. Or you could put stick it in too, I don't know, you wouldn't want to write too sexy for this ad platform, but something intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I might give that a shot. You never know. My last ad got banned, something like that. If you're going after that reader audience, I would give it a shot because, frankly, that would get my attention, right?
That's true.
That stops the scroll. So,
I'd love to tell you about this book, but I can't. So.
That's great. I'm going to click learn more on that. Absolutely.
We're going to start seeing those ads now, Shah.
We are. Yeah. Hey, just make sure you give me 5% of the income. That would be great. Thank you.
So once you've got those ads up, I'm intrigued. So what do you do about testing them? Like are you looking at those 9? Well, it's 3 ads repeated on different audiences. Are you looking at that? You're turning off audiences that don't seem to be working. You're changing ads that aren't.
How long do you test them for too? Is there a period of time where to let them bed in, or what do you do there?
Yeah. So Facebook requires 50 events for an ad to exit what they call the learning phase at the beginning. And so when you first publish your ads, they will show as being in the learning phase. And then after they get 50 conversions, if you're running a conversion campaign, or 50 clicks, if you're running a traffic campaign, then they can exit the learning phase. So that's how long, that's kind of the minimum I would recommend running an ad. If you do start a new ad set and it's doing not nearly as good as your other ads, and you've given it a couple days and you still don't see it ever getting to 50, that's okay to turn it off. Sometimes sometimes things go so poorly right away that you can know. But I do recommend trying to let it exit the learning phase before you turn anything off. And as far as the individual ads go, Facebook, once again, has gotten really good at showing the ads that perform the best to the right people at the right time. And so there used to be a lot of turning off and tweaking and changing copy with Facebook ads. And now, especially if you're just starting out, I would really recommend letting Facebook serve the ads to the different people as it sees fit, right? And so you might have 3 ad sets, and within each one of those ad sets, 1 or 2 ads might be getting shown more than other ads, and they might have lower CPCs than other ads. Cost per click, sorry. And then on your ad sets, one ad set might be performing better than another, and then you can turn off the worst performing ad set and then maybe apply that budget to the ad set that's working the best. So I would look at your audiences and your ad sets, see which ad sets and audiences are performing the best, turn off the ones that are performing worse, and then focus on the ones that are doing well. And then with the ads, you can keep maybe the 2 best performing ones on, and then turn off that 3rd, and then try a new ad in the mix. And they might not serve the new ad if the other ones are doing well, but that's kind of a way you can test. But right now, I wouldn't do as much discrete A/B testing with Facebook ads, just because the Facebook algorithm does a really good job at showing different ads to different people based on their characteristics. It's not really an apples to apples comparison anymore.
Okay.
So that can be frustrating if you're one of those people that really likes control, and maybe you were running ads, five years ago or so, and you were doing some really intense split testing. But if you're just starting out with Facebook ads, I think this is really good news, because you don't have to be in the data. You can let Facebook handle that for you.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah.
Sounds much more relaxing than it used to
Oh,
be.
way more relaxing, right? Oh my Lord.
You just want to know if you're selling or not, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who cares?
yeah.
I don't care about A/B testing. I just want to sell books.
So if you've got an ad that's working really well, in the old days they used to say replicate that ad and then add more budget to it. But is it okay now just to add more budget to an ad that's working well?
Yes, absolutely. If it's working well, I would increase the budget maybe 10-15% at a time. If you increase the budget too drastically, you could push it back into the learning phase. So I would do it 10-15% every other day until you get up to the level that you want to be at.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely.
So
that makes
that's
sense.
okay. That's what I was going to ask. What about scaling? So is there any point in, you've got one ad that's working with an audience that's working, with ads that are working, and you're happy to scale up? Is there any point continuing? I mean, do you keep looking for other audiences? Wouldn't replicate that same audience, would you? No.
Yeah, so if you have an ad set that's going well, I would recommend putting more budget into it. And then what can eventually happen is you'll tap out on how large that audience is. So you can have an ad set that runs very well at $5 a day, but then when you get up to $10 a day, suddenly your cost per click has gone up 30%, and the ad set maybe isn't as exciting anymore. Then I would recommend maybe dropping the budget back down a little bit and then testing other audiences. So that the scaling can be a challenge because different audiences will scale in different ways. But absolutely, if something is going well at a low budget, try increasing it and see how far you can push it.
Yeah. Okay. And so that's okay to sort of just push it down again if it starts getting blown out.
Yes, it's okay. There are no guarantees, right? I think we have even less control, as I was saying. So you might not ever get back to that initial performance, and that's okay. You probably didn't mess it up. You were going to run out of that audience anyway. So I don't think you're going to ruin anything by changing the budgets. And hopefully by reducing the budget, you can get back down to that same performance you had before. Broadly, kind of how marketers in general, not just book marketing and authors, are thinking about this, is the key to advertising on social platforms now is the creative, right? Is the image and the copy. Those are the things that you can make a difference with. It used to really be the targeting and the A/B testing and really digging into all the data. But AI has really taken that load off of you. And so now you get to focus on what I think is the fun stuff, which is writing the copy and making the images. And even within a single ad on Meta these days, you can write a lot of different copy variations. I think you get up to 5 different headlines, and Meta will choose which headline they think will perform the best for a specific person and show it to them. And so the A/B testing isn't as applicable just because Meta will choose which one they think will work best for specific users. So yeah, I think focusing on the creative and less on the data and the split testing is kind of how marketing is moving in general.
I can hear literally down under here at the bottom of the earth, the cheering from around around the world of the writing community on that.
The sigh of
because
relief.
I think for so many of us felt just so overwhelmed by data and testing and all of that kind of thing when it came to advertising, particularly Facebook advertising. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Happy to hear that.
That's good news.
Yes, yeah. How long it lasts, I can't speak to.
Well,
right?
again, we want that crystal ball out, Clayton. We want you.
Hey, I hope it continues. I'm enjoying it, but yeah, this is one of those things you need to stay tuned because things change.
As long as Meta are making money, they're gonna, for them.
So something you said before was that an audience runs out. So is that maybe the one thing that we kind of need to be looking out for is when you start? Is it still the frequency? Like you start getting the numbers there? Is that the right?
Yes, yeah. So something that you can look at in your ads, if you look at the delivery data, there'll be a frequency metric. And frequency is in the time frame that you've selected, how much on average a person has seen one of your ads. And if that gets above 3 or so, then it's probably time to change out at least one of your ads. If you're still seeing good performance, I wouldn't turn anything off if the frequency is high. Because, you know, once again, don't fix it if it ain't broke, right? Keep going, working.
Yeah.
High frequency can be a reason why performance falls off, just because people have seen the ad too many times. So if you see an ad set and every ad in it has a frequency above 3, maybe turn off the worst performing and then try a new one, and maybe that one will catch on.
Yeah.
How big should your audience be? You know, I mean, you hear in the old days when I was doing them, you know, it's don't get to it past 1 million, or don't, you know, like it's quite hard, isn't it, to work out how big your audience should be?
Yes, that's true. You know, I'm honestly hesitant to give kind of a blanket advice on how big the audience should be. I do think in general, my philosophy is bigger tends to be better, just because the AI has gotten so good at finding the right people. So if you're, you know, looking at an audience that's maybe under 10,000 people, that's pretty small if you're thinking about all the people that are on Facebook and on Instagram. So, I mean, you can absolutely test it and see how it goes. But I would err on the side of having a larger audience and letting the AI do the work for you.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Wow, so different than what it used to be. It was like trying to get authors to match you. You know, that was always hard because all the authors aren't there. Because a lot of the indie authors are not there, and so you're like,
and they've taken away some of the ones that did work. And if you're in a genre like mystery, there just isn't, you know.
Just to clarify, anybody's new to this and hasn't done a lot of Facebook, what these two guys are referring to is you used to be able to select author pages. So, for example, we've mentioned Stephen King. I think he's still as a target.
You still can.
There used to be a lot more, and gradually, for some reason, they've been unable to be selected more and more and more. The author pages are still there, but you can't access them as a target. You can't select them as a target. So that's what we're talking about.
But that's okay, because the AI is currently amazing, so we don't need to worry about it anymore.
It's true. The AI is making up for it. There are some other things you can do with audiences that can be interesting. So if you have a website, even if you aren't doing direct sales, absolutely put the Facebook pixel on your website. Because what you can do is you can retarget people who visit your website with ads to get them to buy your books. So if you get enough traffic to your website, that's a warm audience and it might be worth advertising to them. You can also build a lookalike audience. So Facebook can look at everybody who visited your website and then find people that have like characteristics, and you can target them with ads. So people that are completely new, but share something in common with the people that have visited your website. So that's another thing you can do. And then if you have a Facebook page that has a decent following or gets a lot of visits, you can retarget people that visit your page or like one of your posts. A lot of these things won't be available if you don't have a larger following or enough traffic. But these are things that eventually you can start doing and are all good audiences to try out, right?
Yeah. And you can use your newsletter list to find a lookalike audience.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
if you have an email list, you can upload it to Facebook and you can build a lookalike audience that shares characteristics with your email subscribers. That's one benefit of running ads with us at Written Word Media with our read ads that we talked about earlier. We have authors that run their own Facebook ads, but then they also run them with us because they have access to a different audience. Because across all of our email promo brands, we have over 1.25 million readers now. And so we are able to build lookalikes off of that audience and other data points. And so we have a unique audience that we can target with our read reach ads as well.
Yeah. Do you target them for authors? So you get into fantasy author, you would look at people who are interested in fantasy books off your list, or are you that particular? Or is it?
Yes, it's a combination, right? So we're testing different ad sets when you run an ad campaign with us. So we'll do an interest targeting, we'll do a lookalike, and it also depends on the genre, like what's been working well recently for that genre. And so we run a lot of ads, and so that's why this product I think has been so successful, is that we run enough ads to understand what's working in all the different genres, and so we get really better. We know, hey, this targeting did really well last month. So when this book comes up again, let's try to do that same targeting again.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Really
That
good.
makes sense. So a lot of authors, well, we've all seen it over the years, have had issues with having their accounts shut down or deactivated or something. Do you think that's got better too now with AI and things like, do you think that there's less people that happening to?
So with their ad account on Meta being shut down, I don't know. I'm hesitant to say that it's gotten better because I still hear people about this.
Yeah.
And it's hard to know for sure. You know, I think also it's one of those things where Meta is under a lot of scrutiny in the US due to the outsized role it has in our election system. And so they are trying to be very careful that they don't fall afoul of regulation as well. So they might be more likely to deactivate an account. So, I'm not an expert on keeping your account, but a few things I would recommend is link it to your real Facebook profile. So Facebook knows that you're a real person and has been using the platform for a while. If you make a completely new Facebook profile, they don't have any data on you, and you might look a little bit more suspicious. So link it to your real Facebook profile, and then any ID verification that they ask you to do, I would go ahead and do it. Of course, if you want to keep your privacy, that's totally up to you. But by uploading your ID and verifying your account, you're going to be much less likely to be thought of as a bot or a spammer by Facebook and shut down.
Right.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Okay.
That's
And
awesome.
no, that's true. We've had people asking about how to get them back up, but I mean, that's like just,
Oh,
hey.
yeah.
Throw spaghetti at a wall.
Yeah, it is like
One of
throwing
my
spaghetti.
biggest fears to have my account shut down, and then you have to deal with what Facebook calls support, which
No,
Loosely.
But I think with
Anti-support.
everything self-publishing, you can't let fear stop you trying things, because if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, then you'll figure out a way to overcome it, or you're gonna prevent yourself trying things too. Don't let fear stop you doing things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's
The worst case scenario, you can't run ads, and if you didn't run ads in the first place, then you're also not running ads. So
Exactly.
Exactly. So is there anything else that you can think of that people need to think of about or consider when they're doing Facebook ads, or should we move on to the
I think we've covered a lot of it. I would say, just again, coming back to the book cover, right? The book cover is what's going to be in your ad image. It's not just what's on your book. And so it's the single most important thing when it comes to marketing your book. So having a good cover makes everything else work better.
And you got to get that budget sorted too, don't you? It's really vital that you know before you start what you're going to spend and what you're not going to go over, because that can be quite tough too.
Yes, that's a good point. Having a plan for how much you're going to spend, and you're gonna shut it off, keep going, right?
Yeah.
Can I just ask how much text you would put in your graphic?
So I would test it, but I tend, running a lot of ads for books, we tend to see that text in the graphics doesn't work as well as a graphic that has a larger cover on it.
Okay.
So I would lean towards having your cover really blown up and then letting the text in your cover be the primary text in the ad. But you can absolutely test out like a banner that has the price of the book, or maybe a review that's really short. But anything, I would try to stay below 40 characters if possible with the image.
Okay. That's good.
Because it used to be that they had a rule, it was like 20% of the image.
Or something like that was.
They used to really limit the how much text you could put on an image, and that's completely gone. You could have an image that's a wall of text now. Unfortunately, I don't think that will stop the scroll, but maybe if you have the right text, it's worth trying out, right?
This book was banned. This book was banned.
Like Bart Simpson writing his lines on the blackboard.
Do not recommend.
I think ad copy is interesting too, because you see some ads where they've got screeds of like text or excerpts, and then others not so much. I mean, I guess you just got that's the testing, right, to see what works.
Absolutely. Yeah. The difference in text length is a really fun thing to play with. We've had some ads where we've had paragraphs of text above the ad, and to read it all, you actually have to click see more. But maybe having that see more button gets more people to click it, and then they get more.
True.
And then, other times an ad with barely any text, like a very short sentence, or maybe just available now, that does better. So yeah, I think it really depends on the audience, but length is a really good thing to play with and test out for sure.
Okay, that's cool. And the other thing that we talk about conversion of the ads, like you could have an ad that looks in Facebook that's performing really well, and you're getting clicks to Amazon, but they're not buying the book. What do you have advice for that?
Yeah. So, as we talked about at the beginning, it's really frustrating that you can't reliably know if someone buys the book as a result of your ad. And so, what authors need to do is just look at the overall trend of their books, right? So when they started running the ads, what impact has it had on their average sales? And so before you start running an ad campaign, take a look at your past 30 days, 60 days, and look at your average sales, average reviews, anything your ads could impact, and then start running the ads and see if you can notice a lift. It's really frustrating that it can't be more precise than that, but that's kind of the best indicator you have of the impact of the ads.
And if there is no impact, is there, like, what I'm digging for here is like, there's they used to talk about there being a difference between the ads. So you've got a really good ad that's drawing in the people and then they get to the sales page on Amazon and they're going, oh, this is too different. This isn't what I thought it was. No conversion.
Yeah, so that can be a really big problem, right? So you can have an ad that drives a lot of clicks and people are just really, really loving the ad and clicking it. And then for some reason, when they get to the book page, they're not actually buying the book, right? And so for that, what I would look at is really carefully think about the ad and all the messages it could be sending to readers, right? Is it kind of giving a hint of a different genre? Is the description of your book not matching up with what you're saying about the book in the ads? Because that to me seems like the ad is really great, but something about the combination of the ad and the book page isn't doing it for people. So you have to kind of put your reader hat on and think about, hey, if I clicked this ad and went to this book page, does this make sense? Is this going to appeal to me? Or is there kind of a mismatch between the two?
Yeah, there's often a disconnect, that's why it's not.
Yeah, and it could be really interesting because if your blurb or whatever you're saying on your Facebook ad is obviously creating the clicks and is doing really well, instead of changing the Facebook ad, which might have been my initial thought, that maybe consider changing the Amazon page to, as long as it reflects your book, as long as it's
especially if the clicks, you're getting the clicks, right?
Like that might be, because there are a lot of authors that do testing on using Facebook ads for testing. I don't know if that's something you guys do, but like testing which covers or testing blurbs or changing blurbs, you're obviously changing blurbs around. So I guess it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit on it. The really important point is that it has to represent your book accurately, because the worst thing is when someone buys your book with a certain expectation and they read it and their expectations aren't met. And regardless of the quality of the book, you still are probably getting a bad review, right? And that's not necessarily fair. But it's really important that your description on the book page and the ads represent your book accurately. And then if you think that's the case and your ads are doing really well with the clicks, but you're not getting a lot of conversions, then absolutely that could be an indicator that maybe your blurb should be changed up to better align with the ads that are doing so well.
Yeah. Okay, that's a new service that I've decided you should offer, is testing blurbs. That's
perfect. All right.
There you go.
I like it.
Yeah. So let's move quickly on to promo stacking, because I also want to talk a little bit about the survey. So what is promo stacking? We talked a little bit about it earlier, but what is it and why is it helpful to authors, first of all?
Yeah. So promo stacking is a marketing strategy that was invented by indie authors. And basically what it is doing a lot of marketing tactics in a short period of time. And so, on day one, you could run an email promo with a site like us at Written Word Media, where we email links to buy your book out to hundreds of thousands of readers. Maybe on day 2, you post about it on social media and email your own reader email list. On day 3, you could have another email promo or do a list swap with another author. Day 4, maybe more social media posts, and maybe you could run ads the whole time underneath this. And so that's a lot of marketing in a short period of time. And what it's going to do is you're going to get all the sales from all the individual actions, but your rank is also going to increase on retailers like Amazon. And so you're going to get all the sales from the email promo and the social media posts, but you're also going to see your rank increase, and then you'll see even more sales from that. And we call those halo sales, right? If you ran an email promo 1 month and then another email promo a month later, you would see sales from both of those promos. If you run them both in the same week, you see the sales from both of those promos, and you see sales from your rank being increased for longer. So promo stacking is all about getting your rank to increase and get more sales than you otherwise would. So with promo stacking, you can kind of make 1 + 1 = 3. And so, yeah, so indie authors came up with this strategy. I don't know how long this has been going on, probably for as long as Amazon rankings have been around. But it's a really genius strategy. And so at Written Word Media, we had all these promo sites, and we know that authors are stacking our promos with other promo sites because that's the most effective way to market your book. And so, we thought to ourselves, this is a real pain, right? Authors have to go to all these different promo sites that are owned by different people. Sometimes you don't know what day your promo is going to run when you apply for one at a given promo site.
Yeah.
That can be really frustrating because then you don't know when to discount your book if you're discounting. You don't know how to line up your other promos or other marketing materials as well. So it kind of creates this logistical nightmare of lots of tabs and spreadsheets and emails. And so we partnered with other promo sites, other promo companies last year, and we've made ready-made promo stack. And so we've included multiple email promos and ads over a 1, 3, or 5 day period. And so you can schedule them all at one time and get the same benefits you would if you set them all up individually, but it's going to take you a fraction of the time. And so, yeah, that's promo stacking in a nutshell, and kind of how we've taken this process that works really well, but was kind of arduous, and how much effort it took to set up. And then, yeah, hopefully we've made it much less difficult for authors to pull off.
Is stacking mostly for Amazon, or is it work for the other platforms in the same way?
Primarily for Amazon, just because Amazon gets the most traffic of all the retailers, right? So if you say you're wide and your book is on, Apple and Amazon, right? If you see a rank increase on both of the same amount, more people are going to see your book on Amazon than they will on Apple. So it can help with the other retailers, but typically most of the benefit we see is on Amazon.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. So instead of having to go all the different places, you can just come straight to you guys, and it's nice and easy. Perfect.
And you can now send them to your store as well.
You can if you are a platinum member with our reader reach ads. We don't have that with our promo stacks yet with all of our partners. That's something that we're looking into. So you're talking about doing direct sales and running ads. Yes. Yeah. So that's something that we are working on building, because we know that's something that's really important for authors. You get that conversion data that annoyingly we were talking about with the ads you don't get. And then, of course, you're able to build your audience because you get the email addresses of readers who purchase from your store. So that's something that is definitely on our mind, and we hear a lot about. So stay tuned for more there.
Is it one set price, or are there so there's the 1, 3, and 5 days, but are there?
Yeah, so the prices range all over the place. So if you're new to Written Word Media, you can run an individual email promo with us that's not in a stack. And some of those on the low end, I think our cheapest one is $20. And it's all dependent on genre, right? So we have all of our reader sites, and when readers sign up, they tell us how they like to read. So if they like to read on a Kindle, or they're a Kobo reader, or anything like that. And then they tell us the genres that they like to read. And so, for example, we have more contemporary romance readers than we have women's fiction readers. And so a contemporary romance promo is more expensive because it's more effective. And so it's totally based on just how many readers you'll be reaching. Our promo stacks, I think our cheapest is $85, somewhere in there. And then our most expensive, I want to say, is in the $500 range. So there's a kind of a wide range that you can work with in there, depending on your genre.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That makes sense. Alrighty, so that's all the questions I have on promo stacking, unless anyone else wanted to
No,
ask
that's good.
anything
No,
else.
no.
That was
Let's
mine.
move on to the results of the 2023 survey, but also like what you're predicting for 2024 using your crystal ball.
Yes.
Then
Your
and we'll be writing
extreme
this
Tell
knowledge.
us
down.
everything.
But don't tell anyone else, right? Like,
Yeah,
no
no,
pressure.
shh.
Yeah. So yeah, what do we want to start with there?
I
The
think,
survey?
well, to
or-
The
me,
survey,
yeah,
yeah.
survey, like there was a couple of things in the survey that stuck out to me. So you asked a lot of people about their artificial intelligence opinions and where they stood with that. So I'd be interested to hear, just if you talk about that quickly. And then we've got TikTok information. One in here that says controversy continues on social media, which I'm curious to know what that entails. I'm always love a bit of controversy. So yeah, those are just the ones that I picked up. If there's anything else that you think was
Perfect.
important.
Yeah. So, so the survey, so every year we do a survey of authors, and authors are very generous and take, it's a pretty lengthy survey. It takes, 15 minutes or so to complete. So thank you to everybody that took the survey. This wouldn't be possible without all the authors. Yes. Thank you so much. And so, yeah, we asked them a lot of questions. And yeah, like you were saying, something that stuck out to me this year was definitely AI, right? This was the first year we started asking authors kind of how they felt about AI. And so one of the questions we asked was, would you ever use AI to help write a book without using the exact text generated by the AI? So using AI to generate ideas or story structure, kind of like a brainstorming session, and not copy and pasting what the AI has written for you. And 70% of our respondents said they would not. So an overwhelming majority said they would not use AI to help at all with the writing, even if they didn't use the exact text. 13% were not sure. They could go either way. And then 16% said yes, they would absolutely do that. So that I thought was pretty interesting. That's a lot of people that are not interested in using AI at all to help with the writing process. When we asked people if they would ever use the text that AI generated, so really using AI to write for you at least some portion of your book, 87% said no. So even more resounding, no, we want to write the text in our books. Not that surprising, honestly, having spoken to a lot of authors.
Yeah.
But it was good to see, it's one of those things where AI, on social media, right, it kind of feels like the loudest voices are the ones that are heard most of the time.
Yeah.
So with a topic like AI, it's hard to know, what's the consensus here? What do people really think? Because I feel like I'm getting people on the two extremes, but what about the people that don't want to get into a fight? What do they think, right? So the survey, I think, was helpful with that. And then lastly, the question we asked about AI was, would you ever use AI to help you with your marketing? So writing ad copy, creating images, things like that. And only 32% said they would not use AI. So it almost completely flipped when it comes to marketing. And that to me makes a lot of sense because, I talk to a lot of authors. Every author that I talk to just about says their least favorite thing about being an author is the marketing, right? And so if they can help with that,
the blurbs.
then that's yeah, exactly, right? So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Did those results surprise any of you?
Yeah, they did actually.
Not at all.
I would have thought there would have been more people open to the brainstorming aspect, not the writing. I get that, but I also think it's still very early days, and I think that it will be fascinating. This is the benchmark. It'll be fascinating to see
what the next one.
if that changes in future years.
I cannot. So this is the first year that we asked about AI, right? Because it wasn't around when we did it in 2022, and so I cannot wait for this year to see kind of how these things change.
It'll be fascinating. I also think too that the marketing will kind of take some of the, what's the word? I think it will get people used to using it, and I think that will possibly help
familiarize them.
Yeah, I think it will.
Although I think that my favorite part of writing in a lot of ways is the brainstorming. So I don't want to give it to something else.
That's right.
I want to do it myself. So
yeah, no, totally. It'll be really interesting, and I think it's still such early days, and I think it'll be really, really interesting. There's a lot of fear around any kind of change, and a lot of it's justifiable. And a lot of it is also witch hunty. So I think people are still reluctant, even if it's a survey. I think there's a hesitancy as well to really approach it.
Are they anonymous with the survey?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yes. So they can be just.
You can say what they like.
Yeah, we give people the option of giving us their name and email at the end in case they have like a specific suggestion for us, right? But we never publish what people say, of course not, right?
No, of course, no, I'm not saying that they don't trust your survey thing. I think people almost don't want to sort of are reluctant to say it themselves. I think there is that. I just, you know, I'm now struggling to think of one person that hasn't dipped their toe into ChatGPT, and I'm thinking, how does that translate to a whole community of people that will
or in fact using AI in so many other aspects of the writing.
Well,
you know, like
I mean,
like
every time
well,
not only that, every time your jolly web browser gets updated, it's got a thing down the bottom here that's glowing at me saying, "Here, try me." So
but it's where they're using it, right? Like, it's not necessarily that's the point of it. It's like people are willing to maybe use it, but only in certain areas.
Although in the areas they don't like, they're not. Like they are
survey,
in
they're not
marketing, but they're not in the other aspects of it. So I think
the writing aspect. I get that, to be honest.
I absolutely. I'm such a Libran. I get both sides of it. I love tech, and I'm really excited by by AI in all areas of our lives. But I totally get it's like everything. There's two sides to the coin. Right?
Every story,
But that's really interesting, Clayton. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Man, I cannot wait for next
I know. I can imagine. So these responses, the majority of our responses are from September 2023. So we are quite a bit further into it. So already I would expect those numbers have shifted. So can't wait for this year.
Can't wait. We can't wait.
And I also think too, just to finish off the other thing, I think the more sometimes the fear is around not knowing how something works, like anything for all of us, particularly with tech. When you try it, you also see that what your fear of what it is capable of doing isn't actually there. So not at this point anyway. So
Okay, so let's move on to some of the other stuff from there. So I didn't mention it, but direct sales featured a couple of questions in the survey. Can you talk a bit about that? What it said?
So we started asking authors about direct sales and author websites, and so let me pull up the number here of how many authors had a website, because I think 85% of our respondents here. Yes, let's see here. So 85% of people who took our survey had an author website, right? So that's a really good number. I think having an author website, even if you're not running direct sales, is really important because that's how you build your email list, right?
I don't know what those other 15% are doing with their time. Like,
writing.
Right. So I was really encouraged about the number of authors that have a website. And then let's see here. And so the 15% that didn't have a website, 46% of them plan to have a website within the next year. So a lot of those people are planning to get a website. So it's clear that having a website is on authors' minds, and a lot of people are doing it, right? And then so of those with a website, 73% are not doing direct sales. So about 27% are selling direct to readers.
That's a huge percentage, I would have thought, because this is, that's a lot. That surprises me too.
The 27% selling directly to readers, it's high because that is such a difficult thing to set up, right? There's a lot of technical know-how that it takes, or a lot of money to get someone else to do it for you. So that seemed high to me.
27.
I mean, if you think a website is hard to set up, I mean, a store is like,
whoa,
they're on steroids.
Go ahead to do this, to do the back end, and oh my gosh, right?
So do any of you have a store?
I do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm just starting mine now.
Yeah.
Okay, how is that
And
going?
I'm too scared.
I'm not going to lie, I'm getting someone else to help.
Yeah,
I did mine by
absolutely.
myself, but I did a course on it, which I haven't actually completed, which would explain why it's not doing so well. But like it's not just the store; you then have to set up all the apps on it and that sort of thing. And I'm
So
not
many
technical,
things.
so
Yeah.
I mean,
It would have taken you
Yeah.
hours, Share?
days, weeks,
Days,
months.
months. Yeah. So we started ours and got the basics done, and then just got someone to come in and then just fine tuning and stuff like that behind the scenes.
Nice.
So we haven't
Okay.
started it yet, but we will soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the developing things on the web can be pretty simple, right? If you're just making a website for people to read, even setting up an email sign up these days is pretty easy because of all the widgets you can use from the email service providers. But as soon as you start handling people's money, things get really complicated, really fast. I guess that makes sense, but yeah.
Well, people also saying what they can do when in fact actually they don't have the experience and they don't they've basically copy and pasted other people's courses and not really done the work themselves, or had you've got to have some time doing something before you can pass yourself off as an expert, which is something we never do here. So
that's with everything too, right? Everyone's just you got to be mindful of who you actually listen to, I reckon. You really do, especially with something like this, because this is like
it's the big time, and also the fact that anybody who invents an app or does something like that, they're clever people. And I think they really overestimate the fact that we are not clever people. We are authors, we are writers.
Hey, we're clever. We're just not always...
we're clever in our own way, right? We've got our own lanes we stand in.
Some people can do 2 or 3 things very, very well, and some people not so much. And it's like, okay, give me a step by step, otherwise it's just not going to happen.
Go to A and do open tab B. That's what we want. There'll be a lot of people nodding about now, I reckon.
So maybe
another challenge with the website is that especially if you have more than 10 books, you're keeping a catalog up to date, and anytime you change a description or update your back matter, you have a whole nother place to keep it updated. So sorry to be laying this on you, Wendy, right as you begin, but it will be more ongoing work, right? Hopefully it's all worth it. But it does.
Well, that's the whole thing, because what we hope to get out of it is just that sense of control and not reliant on big places like Amazon, who don't always treat us kindly. So
but we love them. We love you, Amazon.
Yeah, we do love you, Amazon, but just
no bad juju.
Anyhow, I think so. Is there anything else that you want to mention about the survey that's really pings in your mind? And that'll be our last kind of thing that we can talk about.
Oh yeah, let's see here. The survey, I think the AI and author websites really did stick out to me. One thing that does kind of interest me every year is we ask authors how much money they make and how many books they've published, right? And so these are very intrusive questions, and I'm really happy that authors are willing to answer this, because it's so helpful, because like I was saying earlier, authors, it's really hard to compare yourself to other authors. You can see people on the Amazon charts, you can see their TikTok blowing up or whatever, but you don't really know how that's translating to their career or their income. And so one of the things that we saw this year is that after about 30 books or so, the increase in income for each book published wasn't as linear as it was for authors with fewer than 30 books published. And so kind of the takeaway here is that the most important thing to predict your income as an author is how many books you publish, right? Until you get to about 30. And then after you have 30 books published, which is so many books, so after you have 30 books published, then there's a lot more variance, right? We had people that had 35 books published that were making way more money than other people with 35 books. We had people with 70 books published that were making less money than people with 50 books. And so after about 30 books or so, there's something else that seems to be driving kind of the income of authors. I suspect it's marketing. and how well those authors are doing at marketing their
Yeah.
massive catalog. But it's interesting that after about 30, it's no longer how many books you have published. It seems to be kind of how you're marketing your books is kind of the differentiator.
Oh, I have another good question, because I'd be curious
Go.
to know if it was where that money was coming from in their catalog. You know, like, is it one particular series that's driving all those massive sales and everything else is doing averagely, or is it, you know, because I
The
often think
entire backlist.
yeah, or is it the backlist selling that's driving that person up higher than the other person who's not focusing on backlist and is just doing their front list? You know, all those kinds of things. It would be interesting to break that down with the 30+ authors.
There you go. Break it down next time for us.
Next
All right?
time.
Yeah,
Just saying.
there we go. Yeah. When the survey is 5 minutes longer next year, you know.
I was going to
Yeah,
say,
my
now
fault.
it's got
I don't care.
Courtesy of the Spa Girls. Sorry.
Yep, I agree though, because that is super interesting, and we could also think about trends in readership and popular genres and how that impacts these things as well. So
so many
So
things.
many
I guess it could
things, right?
become an
So many
hour
things.
long,
Yeah.
and then no one would fill it out. Good point.
Yeah, no, you don't want
Okay.
that. No. Back it up, Trudy.
There are rules around this, just saying.
Yeah.
How many?
Okay. All right, we're wrong. So
I don't want to know the answer to those questions though. Can you do a survey that's like, anyone who answers 30 and above, you click this button and you go to the next level of the survey?
Oh
Like,
my goodness.
and then it doesn't take
No, we can
everyone as
absolutely do
long.
that.
I used to work for a market research company,
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
trust
say,
me, the
Cheryl
shorter it
knows.
is, the more
The
inclined
better.
you'll get people to answer it.
I was just about to say that, Cheryl. If anybody knows about this, it's Cheryl.
All right, I'll stop now.
all right. Okay, you can
Awesome.
stop now.
So Clayton, this is the end of the interview, and I just want you to give some kind of piece of gold advice for people
No
out
pressure.
there listening. No
That's actually
pressure,
risk,
but it
hasn't
has to
it?
be gold. And
We've had gold all the way through, though.
yeah, to be fair. Yeah. So anything that you want to
maybe.
leave our readers with is a
Maybe
last gold.
platinum. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's it's a good question. I think we've talked about a lot of good stuff here. What I would like to say is I would recommend authors try doing a free promo and giving away a book for free. I talk to a lot of authors, especially newer authors, that have never run a free promo, and I totally get it. After you write a book, giving it away for free, even for a limited period of time, it's not an appealing thing. But it really works. We have a lot of authors that run a lot of free promos with us. It gets so many readers into your world, into your books. And then after they read that book one and they like it, they're so much more willing to pay full price for other books that you might have or sign up for your mailing list.
Yeah.
It can really go a long way. And the reach that a free promo gets you is just it's unbeatable, right? A paid promo isn't going to get you that same level of reach. You might make more immediate revenue from a $4.99 promo or a $2.99 promo, something like that. But if you haven't tried a free promo, give it a try, see the results, and then you can decide what your strategy is going to be going into the future. But if you haven't tried a free promo, please give it a shot.
Yeah,
There's a
cool.
reason so many authors do them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. Great piece of advice.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. So if someone wants to run a promo with written word media, or wants to email you, find you, stalk you,
Joking.
Joking. No one stalk Clayton, please. Where's the best place to find out more?
Absolutely. Just go to writtenwordmedia.com. We've got a great blog where you can read the survey results and our publishing predictions for the year, and a lot of other information like how to run Facebook ads as well. And you can, of course, purchase your promos on writtenwordmedia.com as well. And then I always tell authors, don't hesitate to fill out the contact form if you have any questions or suggestions. Sometimes if you're newer to book marketing, all the different promo options can be a little overwhelming. And so I always tell people, just send us a link to your book and say, hey, what would you suggest? And we've got a great team of people that know a lot about book marketing, and they'll send you a very kind response with some different options for you. So if you're unsure about anything, don't hesitate, shoot us an email and we'll definitely help you out. So writtenwordmedia.com is a place to go. You can also follow us on TikTok at writtenwordmedia if you want to hear me giving out book marketing advice. So yes, that's another place you can go.
Awesome.
Totally going there after this. Awesome. And where can we be found, Shah?
So we can be found, if you go to our show notes at spargirlspodcast.com, we'll make sure the links are what we talked about today are in here, along with our previous episodes with Clayton, Grant and Ricky. And if you'd like to come and join our community at Patreon, we're at Spa Girls Podcast on Patreon. And if you'd like some author coaching, we are here ready to give you a little boost to your publishing strategies for 2024. So that's all the information on that is on Patreon/Spa Girls Podcast.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone. Thank you to Clayton, obviously. But thank you to everyone who's been listening to this episode today. We are privileged to have you with us, and we will be back again next week with another episode of the podcast. But for now, farewell.
Bye.
Get well.
Bye.
Bye.